actually doing good is a reward in itself.
Yeah.
The more and more during my sort of journey in Manav Dharam and my sort of spiritual understanding is looking at the good, the bad, the positive, negative in a different way.
Yeah.
So I think for me it's always trying to see that bigger picture and having a different perspective on what is good and what's bad.
Managing your emotions is really important.
You know, it's trying to be kind of open to that idea that everything happens for a reason, and just because it seems bad at that time doesn't necessarily mean it's bad.
You know, whatever you put out into the universe kind of has its way of coming back around to you.
You can argue being selfish is important
Yeah.
in order to better the people around you.
Hello and welcome to the Modern Day Spirituality Podcast by Manav Dharam, a podcast dedicated to those in search of spiritual awareness and insights. We'll be talking to different people from different corners of the world, sharing their thoughts on their spiritual journey. And today we're delving into the topic of is being good enough? We've got two great guests here with us today, both from Manav Dharam as well, Darshna and Chandni. Thanks for both coming on board.
Thank you for having us.
No problem. And my name's Kavi. I'm your host for the day. So thanks for joining us. It's great to have you here. Hope your journeys were okay and we're looking forward to getting stuck in on this topic of is being good enough. So we'd like to start off with a bit of an introduction. Darshna, would you like to go first?
Hi, my name's Darshna. I'm in my late 30s. I'm born and raised in London in the UK, and I work in the public sector.
Thank you. Thanks for coming on. Chandni?
Hello, my name's Chandni. I'm 30 years old, again, born and raised in London, and I work in finance, boring stuff.
Excellent. So good with your Excel spreadsheets then, that's for sure.
I'd like to think so.
Good stuff. Awesome. So we like to start our podcasts, some of the podcasts, with a bit of a definition. And today it's quite a general definition because the definition of good, very subjective. So we found that the noun good means actions and behaviour that are morally right. So lots of different parts we can dig into there. But Darshna, would you agree with that definition, or do you think there's more to look at than that?
It's limiting, isn't it? Because the word right is subjective, the word morals, everyone's got different standards.
Exactly.
So I think the way I would see it is, you know, to be good is to be considerate, to be kind, to have compassion, because they're all kind of innate aspects of a human being. That's our traits as a human. When you get rid of sort of society and what the world teaches us, that's what truly being good means, helping others in need. Depending on your moral compass, you're able to sort of share that and you know, love others, be compassionate to others more so if you let it happen. But also, if you don't want it to flourish, then
you can go the opposite way.
Go the other way, yeah.
So it's quite a flexible definition, we'd say, basically. Yeah. I don't know, Chandni, anything to add to that?
No, I mean, you've said it like really nicely. I think it's really quite subjective what being good is. Like to someone, being good could, like, for example, I don't know, telling a white lie. Like, I may say to my mum, she may call me one day and say, how are you feeling today? I may be feeling under the weather, but I'll say to her, I'm feeling fine, you know, just because I don't want her to worry.
Yeah.
That's a simple white lie. So because I think I don't want her to worry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Whereas to her, it might think, why don't you tell me? You know, you're not being good.
Yeah.
You know, my mum said that so many times, you don't listen to me, you're not being good. But you know, it's very
subjective, good, isn't it?
Yeah, in my opinion, it's a
mind.
greater good. So I think it's very subjective, and everyone's ideas and thoughts of what good looks like can vary. You know,
depending on where they are.
Okay, yeah.
Great. And so moving slightly on from that is what you did speak about society here. What does being good in today's society really mean to yourself?
It's a tough one, because I think we're just surrounded by so much negativity and so much kind of, let's be in it for myself. Let me just get through. You know, if I'm driving on the road, there's lots of traffic, I want to be the first one to get to my destination. Yeah. You know, everyone wants to get somewhere. So, you know, it's being able to sort of realize that there's more to the world than myself, and
Mhm.
having that greater perspective, and letting that other person go ahead of me in the traffic queue isn't going to make a big difference to
No,
my journey.
Definitely not.
So in society today, it's some people will say the basics of having a family, having a good job is enough for them, and then that's absolutely fine, isn't it? It's what you want to get out of life. And I think more and more as we delve into modern day society, it's sort of become the norm. That's what you're grown up, you're taught, isn't it? Okay, have a good job, get have a family, raise good kids, and that's enough because everyone else is doing it, so it must be good. It must be right.
But is that right to follow the herd almost? That's the question here, isn't it?
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? I think you've got to go with your own intuition on that, and everyone's got their own sort of standards, their own journey, and that might be good and enough for some people,
Not so much for
and
others.
not for others.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
follow your own path.
Yeah, that's really and having that path and that goal is quite important for yourself, isn't it? Because even if you say, for example, you're with your family, your good again can be different from one person to the next. The husband, the wife may have different thoughts on what that good is. Like my thought of being good at golf can be extremely different to what, let's say, my wife may think is like, why do you need to be good at golf even in the first place? So there's different things that definitely impact that. I was going to go on to whether being good is subjective, but I think we covered that already, to be honest. So we don't really need to move into that. But Chandni, can being good sometimes conflict with personal ambitions and goals? Do you think that's quite an integral part?
Oh yeah, massively. I think the first thing that comes to mind is a work scenario. I think most, big companies, organizations, include in their values integrity. And I think that's probably one of the biggest things or the first thing that comes to my mind is that, like, having integrity, doing the right thing can sometimes conflict. You've made a mistake at work. It's kind of sometimes one that you don't want to own up to, but having integrity and doing the right thing is the best action and the best way forward. And so that's where the internal conflict comes into play. I don't really want to own up to it, but I really should try and get it resolved. But there are so many. It's not just in a work scenario, in relationships as well. If you've done an error or a mistake, owning up to it is probably a hard thing to do, but it's the right thing to do. So there are so many, parts in life where, doing the right thing can conflict with what you really want to do or what you want the outcome to be, because, it's difficult. So massively all the time.
I think I also wanted to say, so like you said, the work example, if you help someone and you provide them with, I don't know, a lot of help, but that person actually benefits from it rather than yourself, how does that sit with you, Darshna?
Well, holistically, you'd be like, yeah, great, they're a better person for it. But I guess if that comes in the way of you're both going for the same job in that scenario, and they get it over you, and it's probably because you've helped them in that aspect, part of you is going to be annoyed, part of you is going to be frustrated. But I think, the more and more during my sort of journey in Manav Dharam and my sort of spiritual understanding is looking at the good, the bad, the positive, negative in a different way. Yeah. So I think for me, it's always trying to see that bigger picture and having a different perspective on what is good and what's bad. Me not getting that promotion might feel bad at the time, but there might be another kind of door opening. One door closes, another door opens. So it's trying to be kind of open to that idea that everything happens for a reason, and just because it seems bad at that time doesn't necessarily mean it's bad.
It's going to be bad. I think that's it's sometimes a difficult concept for people to understand, isn't it? That
it's acceptance, isn't it, in what doesn't go our way, right?
But is that where we, like, because we're in this 21st century where instant gratification is there, and when we don't get that straight away, it's the case of getting annoyed or not understanding why it's happening. But then, like you say, stepping back, looking at the bigger picture, oh, it's actually potentially going to open up other doors, which may be, which I think is the great and the good of that. And as you touched on there about your Manav Dharam and the spiritual beliefs, so like, how do your spiritual beliefs shape your understanding of being good?
I think my understanding of being good was very high level before I was introduced to Manav Dharam. Like, for me, before I thought I'd like to think I'm quite a good person generally. You know, I should generally try and think about other people. I help where I can. But I think my understanding of it was very general. I think after having listened to discourses, after having spoken to many people from Manav Dharam, I think my understanding of being good was widened massively. So like, I came across a video the other day of a mother speaking to her young daughter, you know, saying, you're strong, you're independent, you are worthy, you are enough. And, you know, instilling all these empowering messages to her daughter, which I thought, oh, this is fantastic. You know, I think this should be instilled into every child from a young age. But then on the flip side to that, there was, you know, all these messages that are instilled, it could be feeding into the ego in the child as well, and into and you know, instilling that as they grow older. And up until I you know, understood more about spirituality, up until I spoke to more people from Manav Dharam, I didn't really understand that flip side to it. And you know, it's not to say you shouldn't instill all these messages to your children or to anyone, but it's having that balance of you know, bringing the person back to earth as well, and also empowering them at the same time. So I think being good is having that balance, essentially, which Manav Dharam has helped me to understand, essentially, because I really didn't think about it at that point.
Yeah. Do you think has Manav Dharam's sort of your spirituality shaped your thoughts of good, I guess?
Yeah, I think as I mentioned before, like over time, I think over the years, I do look at the world a bit more sort of with a big wider perspective. Mm-hmm. It's not just, oh, that person's doing this, so they must be bad. It's kind of knowing that there is something behind that. Everyone's journeys in life are different. People have struggled, people have had really hard times, but there's also people that have been really successful and really, you know, had a lot of comfort in their lives. Now, if someone's struggled all their lives, and they've shouted at you or they've done something, is it really their fault to some extent, or is it because of the learning or the challenges they've had? You know, I think you start with the kind of understanding of spirituality. You start to think of the person behind that, the story behind that, seeing the bigger picture. And again, like I say, I don't see necessarily good and bad in black and white as I used to. You know, back when I was younger.
Bit more in 3D color, sort of multicolored, multi-dimensional. Indeed. Great. So, I guess what limitations do you think there are to striving to be good in this sort of complex and ever-changing, fast world we live in?
I think your emotions.
Okay.
You know, like, depending on what kind of day you've had, the way that you take on other people's reactions or react to something may be completely different. Like, you know, your level of patience may also be higher or lower than normal. So I think managing your emotions is really important. And again, seeing the wider picture and trying to understand where the other person may be coming from. And I think that's really important, is trying to put, you know, be in their shoes, essentially, because you don't know, as you said earlier on, you don't know how their day's gone. You can only control how you react to something. So I think it's managing your emotions, really.
Would you say, so simple example here, if I was getting onto the tube and I'd had a really good day, and someone maybe slightly older or someone who's maybe pregnant, whatever it may be, needs a seat, you'd generally, I think you'd get up or share off of the seat. If you'd come back from a bad day, do you think that reaction would be different?
I mean, honestly,
Personally.
it could
It
be.
could well
It could
be,
be.
yeah.
I mean, we're all Londoners. We've all travelled on the tube, and you've had those long days at work, and all you want to do is sit down, and you get on the train, and then, like you say, someone needs the seat. I think that's when you have that kind of angel and devil on your shoulders telling you, oh yeah, just put your head down. You just pretend you haven't seen it. You know, I think you have to be honest and say may well have happened, and it's kind of then overcoming that kind of devil angel situation and letting the angel sing, doing the right thing, and quite often that's the challenge is the right thing often comes with a sacrifice, doesn't it? Doing good. So it's not an easy thing to do because you feel like you're doing something against your own needs in some respect. But there is there's a lot of research out there as well that says actually just doing a good deed kind of helps you with your own stress levels, your own hormones. So actually doing good is a reward in itself. You just don't realize it, and I think that's the kind of philosophy you get to when you follow a spiritual path or when you follow any sort of kind of teachings on that level where you're not focused solely on yourself.
So that's also something that came up in a conversation I was having the other day, was around if you're thinking there's something to gain from doing a good deed, is that still good or is that bad at that point in time?
I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's like there's a difference between being good and doing good, right?
Good,
you can do a lot of charity work and that's great. You can, but if you're doing it solely to be on Instagram or to show people that I'm doing good, is that really being good? You're doing good, you're helping people, but are you being a good person? And I think that's the real dilemma because there are people that need people to be to do good out there, but you need to kind of reflect on yourselves. We all need to and see, well, am I actually being a good person,
or am I doing it?
I just doing it for some gain that's an outward gain that isn't probably going to benefit in the long term?
So that sort of selfless deed, how do you think that impacts you and your sort of personal spiritual journey or your mindset, all those things? Does that make you a good person, that selfless deed?
I mean, see, that's a really good question because I feel like I have this internal battle with myself, an internal monologue all the time because, I believe that, what goes around comes around. Whatever you put out into the universe kind of has its way of coming back around to you. But then also having said that, like, am I being selfish for thinking that if I do a good deed, it's gonna come back around to me somehow? So I'm, I think there's a balance of being selfless and also being selfish because to some extent you're doing a good deed. For me, I think it's only gonna, like as you said, you feel like you've gotten a reward for doing something good, even though you don't really instantly get the gratification or anything like that. But for me, I feel like it's got to come back around at some point. But then that's me thinking, oh, am I just being selfish? So for me, I have that internal dilemma all the time. I don't know about you.
No, but you can argue being selfish is important in order to better the people around you. So, you need to look after yourself in order to help others. It's a really tricky one because for years I've been brought up thinking, no, help others. And actually you get to a point in life and you realise, well, actually, if I don't strengthen myself,
how can
I cannot carry on. So it's being good kind of for selfish reasons to some extent, but there is a greater kind of good and a reward, a good sort of at the end of it. There is a purpose for that.
To it in the end. And I fully agree with you. I'm in that battle as well as where am I giving myself the right time I need to then also support others? That's really important, and I think comes back to the fact that to be good, I think you need to be good internally, physically, mentally, to then spread that as well. I think that's really important there. On the spiritual side and also on just being good, how do you know if you're on the right path of each of these? Is there a way of knowing, Chandni, that you're on the right path?
Honestly, I don't think so. Yeah. To be quite honest, I don't know if you feel any different.
I do. I think you feel it. It's hard to describe it, but I think you'll feel when you're on the path. Like for me, when you talk about spirituality, you know, you coming into this organisation and sort of progressing over the years, I found that inner sense of peace and that kind of, this is it. I don't need anything else.
And when you're saying the need for what you're getting from Manav Dharam,
yeah,
right?
so I'm getting what I need sort of for my spiritual self, but that's also helping me in my day-to-day life. So I feel like I'm on the right path in terms of spirituality. And then in general life, it's helping me to make the right decisions. But
this is maybe where and I know, Darshna, you've been part of the organisation for quite some years. Chandni, fairly new, a couple of years in. So it's that sort of time, potentially, like it takes time. It's not it's not click of the fingers and suddenly you're, I'm good as new.
It takes, sorry to disappoint, it takes a lot of time. And I'm not even going to say I'm anywhere near where I want to be. You know, I think we all have a desire to progress, but you can only progress as much as you are capable of in that given moment. And it's just knowing that this is the path, so I'm going to follow it, and how quickly you get there is on your drive and determination. But stick with it.
It's good advice. Do you need to be spiritual to be good? Can you be still a good member of society without it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's the intention. You know, I don't think, you know, when you're doing something, there's always an intention behind it, and I don't think you need to necessarily have a spiritual background in order to have an intention. So I don't think you need to be spiritual to be good necessarily.
But I sort of feel like it's being spiritual and being part of Manav Dharam, it's made me more conscious of it.
Absolutely,
a lot more conscious.
Yeah, no, I definitely
Whereas
agree.
I think before, I don't think I was anywhere near that sphere that I'd even think about it. Now at least I'll think about it a bit more to make sure that it's impacting me in the day-to-day life. I don't know if you agree with that.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think like intent, I think, is the biggest thing. Like when we talk about good and bad, you know, my intention is to, you know, not to hurt somebody, but I might say something that they get upset with. Now, like, you know, is that bad or good? You know, if I say something to you and you get upset by it, my intent was not to hurt you, but would you feel bad about it?
Potentially,
yeah.
It depends.
So then you're creating negative energy sort of on your side. So is that my fault? Or is that, you know, where does that sit? So you can go into that conundrum, couldn't you? But for me, I think if your intention's pure, whether you're spiritual or not, it doesn't matter. Yeah, like you say, if your intention's pure, you want to do good, you want to help people, and all you want to do is live a peaceful and happy life, then no, that's absolutely fine. I think for me, it's where I felt that void, should we say, or that kind of, there's more to life. There's something else there. You know, I can be a good person. I can do all the normal things in life, but there's something greater. There's something more, and that's where, lucky for me, Manav Dharam sort of kind of fell into my lap a little bit, and that's kind of sort of filled that void and given me that sense of purpose.
And when we're talking about this, like that Manav Dharam has given us that sense of purpose, how is Manav Dharam helping you maybe to be a better person, or in society, personally?
I mean, I think for me, the discourses have helped me massively. And I think it's just widening my knowledge. Like, you know, as I mentioned earlier on, I think understanding what being good does and doesn't look like, but also just understanding that ego aspect of it, and how there is a fine balance between all your emotions and how you're feeling. And I think I'm still learning so much. But I think it's definitely helped me widen my knowledge.
Great. Awesome. Darshna, any thoughts on that?
What was the question? What was the question?
I was just saying, how has Manav Dharam sort of helped you in that sort of becoming, has it helped you to become better and
I'd like to hope so. I mean, you could probably best ask my family and friends if that's the case, you know. I mean, if you ask someone what I was like 10 years ago to what I am now, I think I'd like to think people will say that I've improved for the better. I think, you know, the journey isn't a straight line. It's not going to be that. And there's going to be ups, there's going to be downs. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to do or say the wrong thing. That's life. But it's knowing that, or being conscious that, oh, do you know what I did? I said something to Chandni and that upset her. I'm not going to do that next time.
Yeah.
It's being conscious of your own actions, being conscious of how you're behaving in society and how it impacts others and how it impacts you as well.
Yeah.
Because me sort of dwelling on a mistake I made 5 years ago is also hurting me. So it's all those things, trying to understand how they impact the energy around me and trying not to let that overtake me on this journey.
Great, awesome. I think that's covered a lot of the topics we were after today about is good enough. Thank you both for joining us here at the Modern Day Spirituality podcast. It's been great to have you on. Hopefully we'll be able to have you again on a future episode. Thank you for joining and sharing all your personal thoughts.
Thank you
Thanks
for having us.
for having us.
Thank you.
No worries, thank you. And so to wrap up, we've heard lots of different areas around being good enough. We've heard about the empowering messages around being good and how when we look at the world from a wider perspective, we can see the difference those good deeds are having. And following on from that, when we do a good deed, it's a reward in itself. So thinking on that perspective. And finally, being good is a journey and it's not just about a single moment. So think on that and understand that. Thank you for joining us today on this Modern Day Spirituality podcast. We look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Take care and thank you. Join us next Wednesday, 5 p.m. Indian Standard Time, 12:30 p.m. British Summer Time, and 7:30 a.m. US Eastern Time for the next episode of the Modern Day Spirituality podcast. And if you like the podcast, don't forget to subscribe, comment, like, and share. See you next Wednesday.